He does know that the Wobbuffet is kind of just stuck there for a while. It has 2 retreats, so that's potentially a very good strategy. We'll have to wait and see if it really works out for him. Keep in mind that he also just wants to get a bunch of Zubats in play, but besides that, he's pretty much done.
Right. So it's going to be over to Alejandro's turn here very soon. Yeah. Enrico gets the free retreat because Zubat has that free flight ability, and so it can use its ability because it's Psychic Pokemon. Wobbuffet doesn't shut off Psychic Pokemon. And Enrico can attack because he went first. And we go over to Alejandro, who's playing an Ultra Ball and getting that initial Groudon on his bench.
Yeah, I believe the nerves are getting a little bit of the better of Enrico in this moment because he tried to attack with the Bunnelby for a second. But it is the first turn of the game, and it being so, he couldn't attack. Now, at this point, Alejandro's very quick turn just means, hey, look, strong energy on my Groudon just to deal that extra 20 damage. That's completely irrelevant and unnecessary, but hey, he'll deal it. And that's the end of his turn right there after a Robo Substitute.
Right. He didn't have much to put out, but he got an energy attached to his Groudon, and he's just starting that steady march. And Enrico is going to go with a kind of really unique plan here, and he is. He's just going to be running Burrow as hard as he can. We did see 2 Golbats come down on the bench, though. He got some damage on that Groudon. But, here's another energy, and then a Professor Juniper.
Yeah, now actually, do you notice how he played a fighting energy onto the Golbat? Maybe he's thinking, check this out. I'm going to be evolving to a Crobat, dealing 30 more damage to the Groudon that way, and then I'm going to start attacking with a Crobat to deal 30 more damage to your Groudon from that point on, while your Wobbuffet's in the active position. But an Escape Rope does stop that plan.
Right.
I want to get the Wobbuffet out of the active position. I don't blame him. And now as Enrico evolves to the Crobat, putting 3 more damage counters onto that Groudon, and this game feels like it's going much, much better for Enrico this time around.
Yeah, he's got a little better setup there initially. He didn't waste that Shaman, and also he's just kind of taken a completely alternate tack here. I mean, we see him. He's got that Shaman in his hand now. And Wobbuffet is no longer active, but it looks like Alejandro does have that stadium in play.
Yeah.
The Silent Lab.
Yeah, that was one of the main reasons why Alejandro decided to use the Escape Rope right there, because he already had the Silent Lab in hand anyway. So he just wanted to be able to make sure that he stopped this Shaman from drawing him extra cards.
Right. Silent Lab stops abilities. You might think it stops abilities on all Pokemon, but it only stops non-basic Pokemon. But again, that helps shut down the Shaman. We have 3 main cards in the format right now that shut down abilities with Silent Lab, Wobbuffet, and Garbodor, and they all shut down different classes of abilities, so you always have to be careful with those cards around.
Yeah, that's where card knowledge really comes into play, and we see how Enrico has to face 2 of these different cards in this matchup.
Right, and always got to make sure you're paying attention to which each one of those does. He ends his turn with another double Burrow, really just trying to push Alejandro down to no cards, but Alejandro comes up and uses just the plain old Rip Claw on Groudon.
This is a big play by Alejandro. He decides that he does not need that extra hit points from the Groudon, and he just wants to get that quick knockout into the Bunnelby. He does not want to. He does not want to get burrowed to basically to the end.
Right. So he also didn't have. It looks like he did not have an energy to attach that turn. And another Golbat coming down here, getting some damage counters on that Shaman. Shaman on that Wobbuffet, who stops Shaman, and Enrico now has his active Hawlucha with a strong energy against the Groudon, who only has 180 HP. So suddenly that Alejandro's side of the board is in a bit of danger.
Yeah, Alejandro's in danger of having no energy in play, right? Only a Wobbuffet and a couple of Robo Substitutes, not even a Groudon at all. This is very important, and this is actually critical. It seems like Enrico is taking a very dominant position in this game out of the blue.
Yeah, Enrico might have been employing a little bit of magician's trickery there, putting out the Bunnelby and burrowing cards away, all the while secretly putting those damage counters onto the Groudon, with his Crobats and Golbats and setting up this knockout that really no one was expecting, because he was very, very forcefully trying to get through the deck, and Alejandro might have been focused on that. He had to bring up the Groudon and go for the Ripclaw, but then he gets to play that super powerful Teammates card.
Yeah, Teammates is a card that really rewards you for losing. As your opponent knocks out your Pokemon, at least you get a supporter that lets you choose any 2 cards in your deck and put them into your hand. That's extremely strong, especially in a situation where you really need to come back because you have no energy in play, you have no real anything in play. So very important for Alejandro as he attaches a Hard Charm and a strong energy onto his fresh Groudon.
Right, so he's got to get a Groudon going. He's got to get back up to Primal Groudon. Well, he hasn't been at Primal Groudon in this game. And Enrico now kind of has the big push and can kind of just start flooring it with his other Pokemon. But now he's in that situation where his Hawlucha can't do damage because Wobbuffet is an EX Pokemon. But he does have that energy on the Crobat back there, so he can start doing Skill Dive if he wants to.
That's right. Skill Dive is a rarely used attack, but very effective in situations like this one where you kind of would just want your opponent's Wobbuffet to stick in the active position. Remember, he's already used 1 Escape Rope. He doesn't have that many switching cards. I believe he's got 2 switches left in his deck, and I don't even see a Floatstone, so I believe it's just 2 switches left in the deck if he hasn't used them already.
Right, right. So Enrico also gets a Landorus and a strong energy on that Landorus setup, so he can do kind of a more straightforward attack as well if he needs to. Again, also starting to take out, he could start taking out those Robo Substitutes to ensure that Alejandro doesn't get to get extra turns down there, or he could start plinking away at that Groudon.
Another Crobat comes into play, and that's another 30 damage. Now, this time onto the fresh Groudon. Groudon takes its first damage of the game, and it's time for the it's time for the Hammerheads.
Yeah, so he's putting on that, and he's going straight for the Groudon, so hoping to just reduce the amount of time that he'll have to deal with the Groudon. But it only takes 10 from that Hammerhead because of the Hard Charm, and we see Alejandro, his turn, not that great. All he did was Primal Evolve. He didn't even get another energy attached on that Primal Groudon.
That is really brutal for Alejandro. Nothing seems to be going his way this game, as opposed to last game. And now Enrico, honestly, just playing energies onto the Crobats because he doesn't really have any other targets, and he's very content with just hammerheading away here.
Right, again, only putting the 1 energy or the 1 damage counter on Groudon because of the Hard Charm. He's going to want to protect that Hawlucha so he can do some big flying presses at the end. And looks like Alejandro's going to be Versus Seekering probably for a Teammates again.
Yeah, Versus Seeker.
Oh, for Karina.
This time he finds a Karina. He probably wants to get...
He's got to get Primal Groudon out.
That's right. He gets a Primal Groudon and likely, I don't know, an Ultra Ball or something like that. No, he gets a Professor's Letter in order to find himself some fighting energies.
Right. So he gets the Professor's Letter. He's taking kind of a player shortcut here. He's taking that Professor's Letter and then immediately going to take the 2 energies he's getting for it, so he doesn't have to search and shuffle his deck an additional time. Sometimes players will do that just to save time, because shuffling your deck multiple times in between cards like that doesn't really do anything.
Now, this wall of Robo Substitutes is going to be effective at letting him power up this Groudon, but remember that we do see things like Mega Turbo in order to surprise Enrico here and start attacking a little bit earlier than Enrico would like.
Right, so he's up to 2 energy, and again, Enrico right away very quickly knocks out that Robo Substitute with a Hammerhead.
And here is going to bring Enrico down to a 3-card hand, meanwhile giving Alejandro 5 new ones. This is a big end because it could give Enrico a dead hand at 3 cards.
Right, and not only that, but Alejandro attached that other energy from his Professor's Letter. Now, if he finds a Mega Turbo here and has a fighting energy in his discard pile, he could suddenly have a ready-to-go Primal Groudon.
I'm not sure that he has well, I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, I think he's just got 2 Strongs in there.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't have actually worked, but he could have also had something like Ultra Ball or some other card to help him get energy in his discard pile at this point.
We saw Alejandro go through his discard pile. Maybe that's what he was looking for himself, and he probably did not find any fighting energies, and that's the end of that next Robo Substitute. We see the Primal Groudon now get 7 damage on it, or 70 damage on it, and a Karina here from Alejandro is going to likely let him start attacking from this point on.
Looks like he's going, not even getting a fighting Pokemon with Karina, just going for the Mega Turbo. It looks like he did have 1 fighting energy in his discard pile. And so he's going to attach that, and it's time for Gaia Volcano.
Very nice. So he does have the fighting energy in his discard pile. Maybe he got burned away, who knows? And the Primal Groudon starts Gaia Volcanoing here, and that's quickly going to bring him back into this game. Remember, all he needed to do was start attacking with a Groudon.
Right. Again, just like why I love this deck so much, it's just inevitable. There's almost nothing that Enrico could do. With that hard charm, the Hammerheads were only putting 1 damage counter on at a time. He was putting all the damage from his Cobrats and Golbats on there, and he still is only up to 90 damage counters on it, or 90 damage on it. 150 damage still able to be used up on that Primal Groudon. He's even going to be taking a big flying press here. Oh, he puts another strong energy to try to get even more damage on there. So that's going to be 100 damage from that flying press.
Enrico does the math here and decides to attach another strong energy. But remember that he does have a Focus Sash on his Hawlucha, so that could be pivotal here in order to keep it.
Oh, except Alejandro plays his Karina, goes and gets the startling Megaphone, is going to surprise all the Pokemon on Enrico's side, make him drop their tool cards.
He has yet to play the Startling Megaphone. There he goes.
Yep.
Startling Megaphone onto that Hawlucha is going to get knocked out, and there goes two strong energy to go with that Hawlucha.
Right, and so Groudon has now got 170 damage on it. Getting 70 more damage on it on Enrico's turn is going to be really hard. Alejandro is definitely going to be able to knock out almost anything that Enrico has up, provided that he can find a stadium, because I think he only has 1 strong energy on there.
There we go. A Crobat comes down, putting 30 more damage onto that Primal Groudon. He also attaches a Muscle Band. A Scoop Up Cyclone is going to let the Crobat get scooped up. He plays a Zubat, puts a Golbat down, putting 20 more damage onto that Primal Groudon. And oh my goodness, did he really just pull this off right now?
He did. He put a Muscle Band on that Crobat, so he was able to do a skill dive for extra damage. And now all of a sudden, Alejandro really has to rush. He's got to get that Primal Groudon, he's got to get that Groudon on his bench ready to go. I don't know if he even necessarily needs to go all the way up to Primal Groudon, but he would definitely prefer that. He's got to get those energy attached. Oh, look at that. All that energy in his hand. He's going to be so excited for that.
A computer search here from Alejandro. Maybe it'll find him a Mega Turbo or something like that. Enrico had a huge turn this last turn, and that brought him right back into this game. Did you see how much damage he pulled up out of nowhere with these bats?
Yeah, we did the math and we looked at it. We're like, yeah, it looks like everything's cool here. But yeah, bam, right away. So many bats, and then that additional damage from the Muscle Band really helped him out. Alejandro does get a second energy onto his Groudon. Primal reverts it. He also played, I believe he played Shrine of Memories, and that's going to allow him to use the lower attacks from his regular Groudon if he needs to. And so he can still use Rip Claw if he needs to without having 4 energy on there.
Can Enrico really pull this off? He still needs to knock out 1 more Groudon. That's 3 Groudons that he would have to knock out in order to win this game.
Yeah, and that's going to be a ton of damage he needs, but he does have a Hawlucha with another Focus Sash on it. Oh, here comes the Mega Turbo, but he's still got the Focus Sash, so that Hawlucha will be set at 10 HP if he doesn't have anything to get rid of that.
Yeah, there was no Startling Megaphone this time around. So we do see the Hawlucha survive this attack because of that Focus Sash, and that's another 40 damage that he gets to deal here.
Right. So but
a super scoop up here. Looks like it's
that.
a Tails. Oh man, that was going to be crucial because that was going to bring a Crobat right back.
Yeah. So Enrico is trying to figure out. It looks like might be trying to keep his Hawlucha up for another turn. Maybe try to get another chance to. I don't know if he has yet another Focus Sash in his deck or not. But yeah, he's going to bring up that Crobat and go for the skill dive.
Yeah. Now you see at this point how the deck starts to fail at dealing enough damage because, man, these Groudons are. Oh no. My goodness! A Pokemon Center lady heals 60 damage away from the Primal Groudon. At this point, you have to believe it's going to be impossible for Enrico to knock out 1 more Groudon.
Right. Enrico has already dealt with 480 HP of Primal Groudon and had another 240 HP of Primal Groudon to go through. Pokemon Center Lady does another 60 damage, which means that he will have to, if he does it, put through 780 damage onto Primal Groudons in this game.
Oh, a stadium comes down, a timely stadium. Alejandro takes his final 2 prizes and advances to the finals of the Pokemon Trading Card Game Junior Division.
Yeah, the inevitability of that Primal Groudon deck. Oh, look at the look on his face. He's so happy. These juniors have such a great time. And so, yeah, this is really great to see. But, I mean, big congratulations to Enrico as well. I mean, top 4 in the world, just incredible. Going to be taking home that big $7,500 scholarship.
We saw Enrico bounce back from a awful game 1 to really put on a show this game 2. He brought the match to, honestly, he brought all of us to our on our toes, and it could have been anybody's game. That game 2 where he just pulled off that knockout on that Groudon out of nowhere surprised everybody, and it could have easily gone his way, and we could have easily seen a game 3 here.
Yeah. We see Alejandro up there with his buddies, with Primal Groudon up there, the old mascot, watching himself take down the big semifinal game. Super excited. Yeah, so these kids are just so much fun to watch. But it's really great seeing the decks that they play, and seeing really kind of a unique deck coming out of Enrico. Like, not really a standard cookie cutter deck, but and really did some really interesting things. Had that chance with the Bumblebee, trying to run him through cards and leaving the Wobbuffet up there for a while. But yeah, just that inevitability of Primal Groudon is really hard to deal with.
Once again, huge congratulations to Enrico for making it this far. But huge congratulations to Alejandro as well, who is now 1 win away from being the world champion in this junior division.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to go to the secondary match right now. And we're going to bring that game up. And that's going to be, looks like Jackson Davies versus Rowan Stave now.
Wow. So we're going to get even more action in this top 4 because the other semifinal match is not over yet. So hopefully we can bring this match up to you guys so you guys can enjoy this with us at home, and we'll be able to see exactly who Alejandro is going to get to play. Will it be Jackson Davies or will it be Rowan
Stave now?
Yeah,
and so we see up here the game getting set up, so they're working on getting that game out to the feed. So Jackson is playing a Seismitoad Mega Manectric deck with also a Crobat line, whereas Rowan is playing a very similar deck to we just saw Enrico playing with that Landorus, Lucario, and Crobat line of his own.
Yeah, you guys can't see this yet, but this game is honestly coming down to the wire. They both have 2 prizes remaining, and I really hope that we can get this game up on the stream for you guys. But just to keep you guys updated, the game is coming down to the wire. They both have 2 prizes left, and it seems like it could be anybody's game.
Right. We don't know the record of these games yet. We don't know if this is the first game or which game this is. But the game that we're playing right now is very close. Rowan's deck list does show me something very important and lets me know that the name of that deck is the Flying Hammer, which is going to be very critical going forward.
All right, I'm assuming there's going to be some Haluchas coming around here.
We've got Haluchas, we've got Hammerhead, we've got Crobat. That's every combination of flying and hammer you can get. And here we go into the game. Looks like it's 1-1.
Whoa,
so this
1-1.
is really coming down to the wire.
It really is, and we see a Seismitoad on the active position for Jackson, but it does not have any energy attached to it. And honestly, it's got a ton of damage on it, so it seems like Jackson's at the brink of elimination here.
But you have to look at that he's playing the almost never seen ace spec, the Rock Guard. So if Rowan is attacking into it, he takes 6 damage counters every time he tries to attack that Seismitoad.
That's right, and it doesn't seem like he's going to be able to one-hit knock out this Seismitoad, so Rowan's going to have to play very, very carefully here in order to not get knocked out through his own attacks. A Karina here gets Rowan any item he wants and any fighting Pokemon.
Right, so looks like he is going to be getting another Landorus EX and an Ultra Ball. Ultra Ball's away that Landorus EX. It was just something he didn't want to draw. He seems pretty excited. Yeah,
he's a Crobat does put 30 more damage onto the Seismitoad EX, and that is going to be the knockout. That is going to be the game. Rowan wins the game and the match, and now we know who our final opponent is for Alejandro here.
Right. That was an interesting matchup. Both of those players were from Canada, and we just saw the tail end of that match. But yeah, so that'll be Alejandro and Rowan in the finals for the national championship.
It was short and
for the
sweet.
World Championship, excuse me.
Yeah, it was short and sweet, but we saw exactly what we needed to see. We saw who came out victorious and is going to be facing Alejandro in this finals matchup. So now we know what the matchup is. Actually, we're basically seeing the same matchup that we saw last round, right?
Yeah, it's going to be. Oh, yeah, right. So we will be getting to that match as soon as we can. But again, like we were saying earlier, so we were in the top 4. So that means that Enrico and Jackson both have just earned themselves a $7,500 scholarship.
$7,500, not bad. And now the final 2 players are going to be competing for $25,000 and $15,000. The loser gets a very pitiful $15,000.
Yeah, it's incredible. We were talking about how whoever wins this year will win more than Jason Klosinski has won in his 3 championships combined.
That's incredible.
So, but yeah, it's just been a real big push that Pokemon Company International has put on organized play recently to really try to bring in and really have a renewed focus on organized play and getting players interested in playing the game at the top level, giving stuff for you people to watch at home on this stream, getting to see just top level Pokemon play all the time. And it's a really great to see this big renewed push towards that.
You know how I know it works? Because it makes me want to continue playing. I'm like, I love commentating, but I would really like $25,000 as well. So I am very excited to see the type of competition that leads to this, huge prize. And I'm just happy that we have such a huge prize pool to give out at this World Championships.
Right, so they're getting those players sent over to the main stage right now. So we're going to have Rowan versus Alejandro is going to be our matchup. So we will be bringing that up pretty soon here. So later today, like we said, we'll be having the seniors finals and then the masters finals in TCG. So yeah, juniors, seniors, masters right in a row. And then we're going to go to the VG, and we're going to take a quick break right now, and we're going to check out this video.
The level of competition here is just like so high. Everyone playing here had to do well in their own respective countries. Like there's many former world champions, reigning national champions, just everyone has put so many hours upon hours into being good at this game. When you meet on the battlefield, like it's gonna be really close every time. I like playing cards that work in most situations. I don't play as many cards that only are sometimes useful. I don't like those as much. I try to minimize those. When picking a deck, I like to pick a deck that has, rather than like really good matchups against some decks but really bad against others, I like to have near even against most. I wouldn't want to just like, oh, I hit the wrong decks, now I've lost a couple games and now I'm out. I like to at least have a chance to play a game of Pokemon no matter what. The advice I'd have for people trying to get into the game is just, for one, just play and analyze your play. Test a lot, think outside the box, and like most of all, just have fun. That's the point of the game.
I always pile shuffle the same way.
I always play test with my friends,
I usually walk around, be nervous.
get a good shuffle in,
Before every game, I sort out my coins to see which ones are where.
and I get a good night's sleep.
Usually I carry around the screen Rayquaza coin that I like.
Last year I had one, but I didn't do so well at Worlds, so I changed it up this year.
Well, as of right now, I got the Ash hat.
I bring my Lucky Emboar.
I spend a lot of time online looking at other decks and looking at all the cards, trying to figure out something out of the box that I could play for a big tournament.
I try to get all the funny Pokemon into my team because, you know, if the other competitor loses, at least he can have a good laugh.
Test and test and test and build decks and build decks and build more decks.
Welcome back, guys, to the Pokemon Trading Card Game and Video Game World Championships here in Boston, Massachusetts. We have just seen the top four, well, two top four matches actually, to find out who is going to be who the competitors are going to be for the Trading Card Game Junior Division Finals. I am Josue Crims Rojano here with Dylan Exobyte Mayo. And are you as hype as I am, my friend?
I am super excited. My favorite deck that I was looking for is going to be in the finals, and it's going to go up against a matchup that it just had and won. So I think bodes pretty well for my favorite deck there, Old Primal Groudon.
Yeah, not only did it win, but it won convincingly. So it's going to be very difficult for Rowan Steven out in order to really pull this off, because we saw just how difficult it is for these guys to get any knockouts on these Groudons, especially the third one. The third one is just so difficult to knock out.
Yeah, let's take a look at what these players went through to get through so far. We've got the top cut bracket for juniors, and so yeah, we saw that we had a pretty diverse top 8 here too. We had a bunch from Canada, a bunch from US, and then we also had Japan, Italy, etc. We've got a bunch of countries represented in the juniors this year.
Yeah, quite a few, and it seems like Canada had an outstanding tournament in the juniors division, and now Rowan is competing here in the finals, representing his country against Alejandro, who's representing the United States.
Yeah, a big North American battle here in juniors, and looks like these players are getting set up right now. They're doing their final shuffles, and they'll be ready to go here very soon.
Yeah, you guys can't see it, but there is a handshake being made, and as long as there's no mulligans, we'll be able to go straight to the match. Now, I want to see if there's any key differences between Rowan and
Enrico.
Enrico's, yeah, exactly. Enrico's decks. I don't see any off the bat, but I guess we'll have to examine it quite quite a bit more over time.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting seeing this setup because it's going to be, man, just a replay of that main match that we watched last time. And Rowan didn't have any insight into that, so he might be running into the same mistakes that Enrico was, or just, I mean, maybe not even mistakes, of just how do you get through, over 700 HP of Pokemon?
Yeah. Yeah, you can't really call it a mistake anymore because it's just so difficult for him to just pull through with these knockouts. 700 hit points is just so much. And keep in mind, like, he still has to go through a Wobbuffet to go with it because you have to take, like, 7 prizes against this Groudon deck.
Right, yeah, you're taking all the extra knockouts from the Wobbuffets, you're knocking down those Robo Substitutes all the time. But yeah, it can just be, it's a lot for that deck to get through. Interestingly enough, Rowan is not playing a Bunnelby, and that was the one card that Enrico was trying to use to try to power through the deck at that point.
Yeah, we also saw how Bunnelby failed him, though. And Bunnelby, as smart as it honestly looks, because your opponent just has a Wobbuffet active and can't really get it out of the active position, it doesn't really do enough damage. And actually, in some situations, it might help your opponent by getting a fighting energy into the discard pile for a Mega Turbo.
Right. It can do a little bit of that. Looks like we're ready to go. They may be done setting up at this point. Okay, we're going to look at Rowan here real quick, though, and we'll be looking at his deck a bit more in detail. But as we go through here and see that he's not doing that, again, we get in that one weird situation where he only has certain Pokemon that can attack certain things, and when Alejandro has those Wobbuffet or Robo Substitutes up, his primary attacker, the Hawlucha, can't even do anything to those.
Yeah, exactly. The Hawlucha is really mitigated by the Wobbuffet. Forget the player cards, man. There's no need for them. We're going straight to the games. We have got Alejandro against Rowan here in the finals of the TCG Junior Division. One of these guys is going to become the world champion, and they're 2 games away, potentially.
Yeah, it's going to be a really exciting matchup. One thing that Rowan does have, where that Hawlucha doesn't get through the Robo Substitutes, Landorus is kind of the Robo Substitute chewer-upper. It can really knock those out and start putting damage on those bench primals just in case.
That's right. It seems like the players are slow to start, but here we go. We do see the start of Wobbuffet against the Shaman EX. A Shaman is not what you want to be starting with if you're Rowan here.
No. If you start with the card in play,
are we about to see a huge Juniper here? We do. We see a Juniper discarding like 7 cards here. That is about the most unfortunate thing that can happen on your own turn 1 here.
Right, so this is not what either player really wants to see happening on their first turn. Rowan's starting with Shaman. If you start with Shaman in play, you don't get to do setup at all. And so he is going to have to skip one of the setups in his deck, and then back over on Alejandro's side had almost, apparently literally nothing he could do other than play a Juniper and get rid of his entire hand. But what he ended up drawing was really good for him. He got 2 Robo Substitutes, a Groudon, and an Energy. Back over to Rowan. Rowan plays an N, which kind of refreshes Alejandro's hand after playing out all that, too.
Exactly. He played down 4 of his 7 cards, so he only had 3 left. And Rowan says, no, you can get 6, my friend, because I need a new hand. The Shaman EX is just not going to cut it here. I can't even attack without losing the game. So I definitely need more Pokemon if I'm Rowan here. And it seems like Rowan's just looking for these Zubats, looking for some Landorus maybe, a way to really start applying pressure against this Wobbuffet and obviously the Groudon on the bench.
Right. So, again, and playing no cards before that end, both these players really not having great opening hands, and so trying to recover off these big initial supporters for both of them.
We do see Rowan draw exceptionally well off of that end, though, because he finds a Zubat, he finds a Hawlucha, and he also attaches an energy to the Shaman, who honestly just needs to get out of there.
Right. He's going to be trying to get that setup attack off here later. Wow, another big number of cards being discarded to Juniper for Alejandro. But Rowan wants to use that Sky Return so that it can come back into play and maybe get a setup later.
Juniper is a great card because it gets you a fresh hand of 7 cards, right? But honestly, it has a huge drawback when you have such a large hand because every resource is super critical. You only play so many of these cards, and there's no real way to get them back. So when you start discarding things like, for example, stadiums or something like that, that could definitely affect your late game when it comes down to having this consistent stream of damage. And I mean, it's just, I can't overstate it, how important it is to have these resources. So discarding like 12 cards is just not what you want to be doing. And it seemed like Alejandro just passed after.
He did get the Primal Reversion down to get the Primal Groudon. Back over to Rowan. Rowan plays a couple, did get a Golbat down to put some damage counters on that bench Primal Groudon, and will do the Sky Return to get the Shaman back into it.
Actually, he scoop up Cyclone.
Oh,
so he had to spend, he had to spend his ace spec here just to get that Shaman out of the active spot. That's how difficult this start was for Rowan to overcome, because he had to spend a very critical card in his deck, a scoop up Cyclone, which could potentially deal like 50 damage on its own, just to get himself out of that active position and start hammerheading Array.
Right, he did get the Hammerhead down. Alejandro so far has no defensive item on his Pokemon, but right away plays that Karina, goes and gets the Hard Charm, which is really going to turn that Hammerhead into a trickle on that bench Primal Groudon. Strong energy, he's really getting, and another Primal Reversion. He's really getting everything he needs early on here, and Rowan still seems to be somewhat energy starved. Couldn't get a second energy down on that Shaman to do a Sky Return, but putting a Muscle Band on his Landorus, getting an energy on his Hawlucha, so he's kind of getting his stuff set up, but is really pretty far behind at this point.
And remember, he could not play the Shaman down to draw additional cards because of that Wobbuffet. Did not make that mistake, and now we see the Wobbuffet take additional damage, and now the Groudons are taking split damage because of that Hard Charm. He decides he wants to stop attacking that one and just dealing 10, and he wants to deal maximum damage because he knows he's got to go through multiple Groudons to win this game.
Right. Alejandro just played his computer search, went and got a Switch, so I'm going to put good money down on him having another energy card, but he's taking kind of a gamble here. Actually going to play.
Well, there he goes. He draws two additional.
Oh man!
Two strong energies and a regular fighting energy to boot. Plays a strong energy here in order to deal over damage onto the Landorus. But keep in mind that the Wobbuffet is one Hammerhead away from being knocked out. So that is really important to note. You can't give out an additional prize from this point on.
Right. So he was able to do that. He also played a Mega Turbo to get energy out of his discard pile onto his other bench Primal Groudon, and we saw him draw just a ton of energy off that Professor. So he's going to be able to get that secondary Primal Groudon ready to go right away. Big super scoop up here.
Shaman EX draws a ton of cards and a super scoop up, I believe. Was it a Tails?
Yeah, it looks like he did not get it. We don't have quite the angle to see those dice here. Or no, is he? He is picking it up.
I thought that was a head. So yeah, it was a heads. He decides to pick up that Shaman because honestly, there's no point in picking up a Golbat. It's a little bit too little damage at this point, and you just want additional cards. You want to be able to keep attacking and keep getting these Crobats and Golbats into play. The Hawlucha will be dealing quite a bit of damage. Does it have a Focus Sash on it?
Man, I didn't see the tool as he was placing it down, and it's not sticking out to the side like we normally do. So yeah.
I'll be surprised. But yeah, Versus Seeker now finds a supporter here for Rowan, and I mean this Groudon. We've seen this matchup before. We've seen it. I mean, it feels like it just happened a few minutes ago, right? Where we saw the Groudon just overcome this quick start from the fighting deck and just start taking prize after prize from that point on. And Hawlucha or not, it doesn't matter because you're just taking at least one prize every turn. And Alejandro just comes back from this early, from being down early on.
Right. Rowan plays a pretty critical end there, gets himself up to 6 cards and puts Alejandro down to 4. And Alejandro had just like basically Jin in his hand there, was going to be able to put all those energy down on that bench Primal Groudon. Now he needs to start making alternate plans, but he does get a Hard Charm and a strong energy on there.
Another Hard Charm comes down, and that's what makes these Groudons so difficult to beat. It's not necessarily the 240 hit points, it's the fact that you have to attack through a Hard Charm every turn. So things like Hammerhead and even Flying Press deal quite a bit less damage.
Right, so he drops a Golbat there, puts another couple damage counters on the primary Primal Groudon, drops a Shaman, is going to set up back up to 6 cards. Alejandro did get another energy on his bench Primal there that last turn, though. And it looks like he's putting a Muscle Band on his Hawlucha.
You know what I'm seeing? I'm seeing that there is no Focus Sash in Rowan's deck.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so without Focus Sash, was going for the 4 Muscle Band maximum. it's going to be much more difficult for Rowan to really keep these Haluchas going. You know, you really need that focus sash in this matchup. You need to be able to. You need to be able to stop your opponent from taking a prize every turn, man.
Right, and you're going to be able, and you're also going to just start running out of attackers at that point too. The focus sash really makes it so the Primal Groudon's Gaia Volcano doesn't, even though it can do 400 damage, you're still going to be all right at that point. But yeah, he's just playing a bunch of cards, trying to get the resources he needs to.
A Crobat comes down, and that's going to put 30 more damage onto the Primal Groudon, and that means that a Flying Press will be able to knock out this Groudon, I believe.
Right, because he's got the Muscle Band and the Strong Energy to counteract the Hard Charm that's on there. He's actually going to be able to take out that Primal Groudon at this point.
That's right, and that means that you're going to be left with only one more Groudon to go with 30 damage already taken on it. This is big. I mean, this is how Rowan can win.
Right. He's going to start making some actual headway here, but that Primal Groudon on the bench is in pretty good condition right now. But yeah, there we go. There's going to be that big Flying Press.
Takes 2 prizes for Rowan, and now Robo Substitutes come up. It's time to start hiding behind your wall. You need another Groudon, and Professor's Letter is going to let you start getting some fighting energies.
Yeah, gets 2 of those fighting energies. Don't know if he has another Mega Turbo to be able to do anything this turn, but he can take a turn or 2 with the Robo Substitute hanging out. Oh, Versus Seeker here.
A Versus Seeker. Maybe he can get a Teammates or something like that. We'll see.
Yep.
It is a Teammate, so he's going to be able to Teammates. If he wants, he can Mega Turbo here and and start attacking right away, when honestly it seemed like he wasn't going to be able to for at least a turn or so.
Right. The Mega Turbo gives you a slightly sneaky way. This deck that I always talk about as slow and inevitable can surprise you every once in a while with a Mega Turbo, or even 2 sometimes. He's not really displaying what cards he's grabbing there. So we'll have to be surprised at the same time as Rowan to see which cards he picks up there. Puts an energy down. Looks like he got a Versus Seeker and something else, but he's just going to pass the turn, so he might not have had another Mega Turbo at this point.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe it was prized. You never know. Or maybe there's not any. Well, no, there's definitely some fighting energy in the discard pile. But yeah, he did not get to Mega Turbo here, and that's a missed opportunity, but it might not matter. Well, maybe I spoke too soon, because the Crobat puts 30 more damage onto this this Groudon before he can even start attacking here. And a Super Scoop Up. Oh, no.
He missed that one.
Yeah.
He got one, so he's 1 for 2 on this turn on Super Scoop Ups, doing all right, but not really hitting everything that he needs to.
The Fighting Stadium does come down, and remember, Halucha cannot knock out Robo Substitute.
Right, but Robo Substitute, of course, has the ability that you can get rid of your own substitute whenever you want. So when Alejandro is ready to go with that Gaia Volcano, he can get rid of that Robo Substitute at any time without giving up a prize card again.
Okay, now an N does get played by Rowan. Draws Rowan 4 cards, draws Alejandro only 3. Remember, Halucha cannot knock out the Robo Substitute, and you really want to start putting pressure on Alejandro. You don't want him to be able to just sit there and patiently build up his Groudon here.
Also, that's going to be a chance. We'll see. Oh,
No,
he
draws
does
the
draw
fighting
that
energy on the
fighting
final
energy.
card, yeah.
He knew. Rowan knew that Alejandro had that other fighting energy from the Professor's Letter, so he was trying to see if he could use N to get around that. But yeah, without that ability, he was just going to have to stay back for that.
Now the Crobat becomes active now. I don't know if he's got the energy to attack with it, but it seems like he doesn't. And now he's Alejandro's going to be playing a 4th fighting energy onto the onto the Groudon here. And will he knock out his own Robo Substitute here?
Seems like what's going to happen. Yeah. So Rowan just had to pass. He knew that no matter what happened, Alejandro would knock out whatever was up there, so he put up a Crobat that he wasn't as worried about. He's still got the rest of a chain that he can play, gets that knocked out. Alejandro only needs 2 prizes here, and that Primal Groudon's in pretty good shape, although that Halucha can start dealing quite a big deal amount of damage.
And Rowan plays the Fighting Stadium because, I mean, it's not like Groudon needs to deal extra damage to these Haluchas, right? The Halucha does have very little HP, and it doesn't matter if it can get knocked out or not. This is actually kind of important, because if he had just activated a Halucha instead of a Crobat, then Super Scoop Up would have been able to bring these Crobats back and let them start dealing more damage through their abilities. But he did not, and actually the Halucha will not get any extra help from these Crobats without Rowan naturally drawing. But Rowan did naturally draw a Golbat here, and that puts 20 more damage onto this Groudon. That's 20 damage closer to knocking it out.
Right, so he's got 80 damage on that Groudon, leaving it with 160. It does have a hard charm, so it's basically, that's a push with the Muscle Band on the other side. But the Fighting Stadium and the strong energy is going to bring that Flying Press up to about 100.
Yeah, minus 20 for the hard charm, so that's 80, I believe. Or wait, no, I guess.
With the Muscle Band.
You're right. So now at this point, remember, if Rowan can knock out Alejandro's Primal Groudon, you have to believe that's going to be game. Alejandro got end down to a 3-card hand or a 2-card hand or something like that, and Alejandro did not draw particularly well off of that. So he doesn't have the Lysander here to end the game, I don't believe. If he did, that would be it. Lysander would be able to knock out bring the Shaman up into the active position and knock it out with Primal Groudon. But it seems like the game is going to continue at this point. And remember, Primal Groudon goes down, and so does Alejandro, I believe.
Right, Alejandro doesn't have another Groudon on his bench yet, but he does have 3 Robo Substitute out where he can try to delay the game as long as he can. And again, Rowan doesn't have anything on the board right now that can actually attack a Robo Substitute, so those might last a little longer. If he finds another energy, he can put that on his Golbat, though. That's
right, and there's no type of there's no type of way for him to get these Pokemon back into his hand or into his deck. Unlike Sacred Ash in the previous matchup.
Right.
So now Rowan does have to make do with what he's got left here, and who knows if it's going to be enough. At this point, Alejandro is still on the attack here. He actually, I take it back. He decides to retreat the Primal Groudon. He does not want to give up these 2 prizes, and more importantly, the final Groudon here. But that is a very hefty cost.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen Primal Groudon retreat before, having to discard 4 energy to get back there and save itself. Rowan's still trying to snipe it down on the bench with some of that those Crobat and Golbat abilities, though.
That's right, and 30 more damage does come down onto the Primal Groudon, 1 step closer to being knocked out. The Robo Substitutes are very effective against Hawluchas, but remember that Crobat can start knocking these out. I don't know, man. Discarding 4 energies to retreat your Primal Groudon. I understand, desperate times call for desperate measures, but this is big. This is really, really unfortunate for Alejandro that he does not have another Primal Groudon to start powering up.
Right. Well, so what Alejandro might be doing here, his long-term plan, is trying to get the energy back on his Primal Groudon through Mega Turbo or just other energy in his deck, and wait until he gets a Lysander, and then try to take out that Shaman on the bench for his last 2 prizes.
We saw Rowan draw, or actually play a Colress here, and that's going to draw him 9 cards. 9 cards from a Colress on an already thin deck. That's very important because he's going to be able to find pretty much everything he wants at this point, including hopefully another Pokemon to start attacking at this point.
Yeah, after the Nationals, a 9-card Colress sounds a little slim because we're no Skyfield on board, and we really have seen the Skyfield come and go pretty quickly after the release of Roaring Skies. It was very popular there for a while, and we haven't seen much of it here at Worlds at all.
Okay. We see 7 cards here for Rowan, I believe. 2 more cards to go, or maybe 1, 2. Okay.
There we go.
So now Rowan gets the full 9 cards here, 1 card away from getting 10, and places a Zubat down. That's going to be more damage that can be dealt with these abilities. Will he be able to attack this turn, though? Super Scoop Up is Tails. That is another missed opportunity on these Super Scoop Ups. These flips are really crucial because that's 50 more damage that he can deal with these abilities if he gets heads.
Although I believe I saw a Lysander in his hand, so he may be able to, on his next turn, play that Lysander and bring that Primal Groudon back up.
Oh, my friend, you cannot. Remember,
oh, you cannot.
Primal Groudon does not allow you to do that.
My favorite card, and I was completely forgetting the Omega Barrier.
Oh,
you really
man.
can't even get around that, so it
Omega
is going to be completely safe on the bench that whole time.
Yeah, that is why Alejandro decided to retreat. Remember, Alejandro knows that this Primal Groudon is safe besides anything except for obviously Crobats and Golbats.
Right, we see some more damage counters going down on there. It looks like it's up to 190, so it's only got 50 left back there right now. He does also have the Pokemon Center ladies and Versus Seekers that he could start trying to heal off that Primal Groudon as well.
Yeah, I believe that was the strategy, to just retreat the Groudon and slowly, Pokemon Center Lady, maybe Versus Seeker, Pokemon Center Lady again, heal this Primal Groudon back up because maybe he's out of these Groudons, but it doesn't seem to be working very well because Rowan's just keeping a consistent stream of damage going with these Crobats.
Right, just saw Alejandro play Karina and just get a Versus Seeker, had no fighting Pokemon. in his deck that he wanted to get at this point, and he passes the turn back.
Yeah, so that's why Alejandro's been retreating this Groudon. He knows that's the only way he can win. He just needs these Pokemon Center ladies at this point.
We also saw him count both decks, and he might be banking on that Rowan isn't going to be able to knock out. Oh, there's the AZ.
Yeah, AZ does bring back that Shaman EX. And now we see a fighting energy go onto this Crobat. There's a strategy.
Right. With Skill Dive, he can take out. Oh yeah, gonna bring up that Wobbuffet. Oh no, because he already played a supporter. Tried to play a Lysander after he'd already played AZ, and brings up the Crobat. And yeah, that's
a knockout on that. That's a knockout on that Groudon, and that is. 2 more prizes, and finally, the last Groudon. Alejandro shakes the hand. That's the end of game 1. Alejandro is defeated in this matchup that Rowan honestly felt unfavored in, but it didn't matter. Rowan masterfully pulls this off, and we see him pull ahead 1-0 here.
Right. This is almost like exactly what we saw in the second game in our initial stream against when Alejandro was playing against Enrico. But here he didn't get that third Primal Groudon out, so he was only able to get the 2 Primal Groudon out, and eventually Rowan was able to chew through all that HP. So doing about 500, that you can do, but doing that another 250 plus, that's where it starts to get tough.
Rowan is 1 win away from becoming the world champion in this trading card game that obviously he loves to play. That's every kid's dream, right?
Exactly. Like being on the main stage, being on the stream that we're doing right now, all his friends back at home watching him live, playing up here on the big stage. Yeah, it's got to be super exciting.
Oh, no doubt about it. I can feel the chills. I'm sure both of these players can feel the chills. And remember, Alejandro does still have this great, well, maybe, who knows, maybe it's not a great matchup, but he still has this great deck. And this deck can definitely pull off 2 wins in a row. We've seen it happen before. And if he pulls it off one more time, he will be the world champion instead of Rowan. I'm just excited to see this matchup happen. We've seen it. We've seen it for about 2 hours now, but it doesn't matter. It's still exciting. It's still a great matchup, and we've seen that anybody can win here.
Right. It's really interesting. Like almost all 3 of the games that we've watched with this, not exact matchup, but with this similar matchup, have played very differently each time. We've seen Primal Groudon get a really quick start. We've seen it get just like outlast by going to that third one. And so here we saw the Crobats and Golbats finally wear down just the second Primal Groudon.
Exactly. Man. Okay, Landorus EX. Lucario EX we have yet to see actually in this entire match.
Right. I think that's a card that they don't necessarily want to play. I don't think it does a lot in this matchup, although it does have that. It does have those 3 attacks, so it is very versatile in the different things that it can do. But it just might not be something that they want to use in this specific matchup. I've seen it discarded to Ultra Ball a lot in both games.
Yeah, and remember though that they also run into the challenge where they run out of Pokemon to really attack with. We saw the Hawlucha struggle against these Robo substitutes before.
Oh, looks like Alejandro is having mulligan issues once again. Rowan, however, I think does have a basic Pokemon. Yeah,
definitely has at least one. Had 2 in this case. And Alejandro, remember, he only plays 7 basic Pokemon, so it's not uncommon for him to mulligan. And we'll have to see how many times he mulligans, because Rowan could get a big advantage here from drawing extra cards.
Right. Also, Alejandro lost, so he gets to decide who goes first. Oh boy, another mulligan. I'm going to assume that he's going to pick himself to go first.
And hopefully,
Right. By picking himself to go first, like we said, that Primal Groudon, it really isn't going to be attacking on turn 1 ever. Might not even attack till turn 4 most of the time. So by going first, it gives it another turn to get through those energy, get those energy on the Primal Groudon, Primal Revert, and give up another early turn when it's less important. Looks like he's finally got a Pokemon ready to go.
Yeah, and it looks like it's Groudon this time instead of the Wobbuffet, so that might come into play if they don't have a Silent Lab here. Alejandro does start with that Groudon, draws his card. Does he have an energy to play this turn? Robo substitutes, another Groudon, and the Silent Lab, but I do not see an energy here. That's going to be the end of his turn. Wow. Plays down his hand to 1 card, I believe, but does not have energy, does not have a supporter.
Yeah, so that can be pretty risky there for Alejandro. I don't know that he had much of another choice, but now Rowan is going to start being able to do those flying presses right away.
That's right. One thing that a lot of players like to do is maybe keep the hand a little bit larger, trick your opponent into potentially thinking that they have to, or that they can end here. Obviously, Rowan is going to choose not to end if possible in order to keep your opponent at this 1 card hand, which obviously is not particularly impressive.
Yeah. So it's going to be a little, Rowan plays a Karina here, goes and gets a fighting Pokemon and gets that Landorus, also gets a Muscle Band. Really going to start trying to take out that Groudon that is stuck up front as soon as possible.
I believe we see 80 damage onto this Groudon, and that's a lot of damage, man. That's 3 turns to knock out this Groudon, which is honestly great considering the fact that normally it takes him like 6.
Right. Alejandro draws and plays a Wobbuffet, but doesn't have anything else to do. A Golbat comes down on Rowan's bench and starts putting more and more damage on that Groudon.
Alejandro is he is on the ropes here, and now gets his Groudon knocked out right away. Huge Karina off the top, though. That is going to bring him back into this game, I'm sure. And it looks like they were just checking to make sure that he had 6 prizes.
Adjusting his prize layout.
But that huge top deck is going to bring him right back into this game because he's probably going to be finding a computer search from it. I believe that's what he plays as
his A-spec is computer search.
Yeah, that is huge.
He gets Primal Groudon and actually goes for the Professor's Letter. Little interesting because although it looks like he has a Versus Seeker in his hand, so he does have others. He can just get another Karina next turn if that's what he needs.
That was the final card. Okay.
Yeah, making sure that he's got his energies initially because he really needs to get those played down right now. And then he's going to Primal
Evolves. Yeah, Primal Evolves onto the Groudon, ends his turn. Robo Substitute is obviously going to be a nice little wall for him to sit behind. But now Hawlucha can no longer attack, so we might start finally seeing the Hammerheads.
Right. So Rowan never did play down that Landorus yet. Hawlucha, not able to do anything against a Robo Substitute. Also has a Crobat with an energy, can start doing Skill Dive if he needs to.
We see another Hawlucha come down, but remember, he does not want to be attacking with Hawlucha. Obviously, Crobat does become active now and puts... Well, that's one way to start attacking. He does put 10 more damage onto the Groudon. Says, you're going to be knocking out your own Robo Substitute anyways. I don't need to knock it out. I'll just start dealing more damage onto your Groudon here.
Right. Start getting everything camped up on there. But again, with that hard charm, it's reducing how much damage is going. And Landorus does give you the additional pressure of like clearing through your Robo Substitutes, and that's not happening here with that attack from the Skill Dive.
Yeah, Rowan had the Ultra Ball to find the Landorus if necessary, but he chose to just start attacking with Skill Dive. We'll see if that works out for him, but remember, 10 damage a turn is not very much, but at the same time, you just need every point of damage you can muster up against these Groudons who are just so hard to knock out.
Right. We saw Alejandro versus Seeker for that Karina. Went and got his final Groudon in his deck. Now we're going to see what item he wants to pick.
Yeah, the item maybe it'll be a Professor's Letter again. Maybe it'll finally be, maybe it could be a Versus Seeker again. You never know. But maybe it'll finally be the computer search that we've been talking about.
Right. No, it looks like he goes for another Versus Seeker. I wonder if his computer search is prized right now.
Yeah, so the Versus Seeker is going to give him another Karina next turn. Not exactly what you want to be versus, you don't want a Karina for a Versus Seeker. That seems a little unfortunate here. But still, sometimes you just have to make do with what you've got, and Alejandro definitely is doing that. Attaches another Fighting Energy, and I'm sure that's going to be the end of the turn. He's not too concerned about taking 10 damage a turn here.
Right, here's a big Super Scoop Up, but Tails for Rowan.
Another Tails for Rowan on these Super Scoop Ups. These Super Scoop Ups are critical. You need to be able to scoop up your Crobats and deal these extra 50 damage points onto this Groudon, which is so difficult to knock out. So every Super Scoop Up miss is a huge missed opportunity for Rowan here.
Right, Rowan going over their options right now, thinking what they want to do. Looks like they're going to play an Ultra Ball, discarding a Hawlucha and, oh wow, a Crobat.
Yeah, Hawlucha and Crobat both go down. Doesn't think he needs the 4th Hawlucha here. Rather finds a Zubat, which he's been missing dearly. You do not have an unlimited supply of Crobats. You only play 3, so losing one and having the other one in play really makes these Super Scoop Ups more important. Every Super Scoop Up matters tremendously.
Right, but he really wanted to get that second line down. Getting the second line is important for being able to scoop up and then start evolving at the same time.
So let's see. The Crobat is going to start dealing damage to the other Groudon.
Right, no hard charm on that one, so it's getting the full power of Skill Dive.
That's right. And Skill Dive is actually, remember, he has to get past these Groudons anyway. He does. He really has to. So I'm okay with him dealing 30 damage onto these Groudons, even though it doesn't have any energy attached to it, because it will eventually have to get knocked out.
Right, and we see that keep getting more and more Versus Seekers for more and more Karinas, Alejandro was able to get now has careened his way through more Primal Groudons and is getting a Primal Groudon as well as a Robo Substitute.
So the Primal Groudon here is starting to get powered up. Remember, another Robo Substitute comes down. Primal evolves. That's the end of his turn. Sits behind these Robo Substitutes, but say la vie.
Yeah, that's what we'll be going with here.
So let's see here. Now, at this point, Rowan just wants to keep attaching energies, starting to attack these Groudons. I'm very happy with the way he's playing the game here, and that's 30 more damage onto this Primal Groudon on the bench, slowly but surely dealing enough damage. And Alejandro has to pass the turn. Alejandro doesn't have anything to really work with here.
Wow, yeah, it looks like he might have wanted to do something slightly different with that last Karina on the item card he got. He only got a Robo Substitute, but like we said, he might have his computer search prized.
Definitely. So now it's time for the big boys to come play Hammerhead. Hammerhead time. Down goes the Robo Substitute. 30 more damage onto this Primal Groudon on the bench. Rowan smells blood.
Right. Although Alejandro does draw an energy. A little tough to see how much is on that Primal Groudon. I think it's got 3 right now. But yeah, playing another stadium there. And Rowan is playing the Professor to draw 7 new cards.
Professor Juniper is going to draw Rowan 7 new cards. Rowan doesn't particularly need much at this point. He just wants Alejandro to keep stumbling. That's really important for him because that's exactly how Alejandro's going to get back into this game, is by starting to take a prize every turn.
Yeah, Alejandro is really kind of stalled out here in this game. But yeah, Rowan does another Hammerhead, chewing through those Robo Substitutes, getting more damage on that benched Primal Groudon that doesn't have any energy on it. Oh man, and just passing the turn.
Alejandro draws another card, sits behind this final Robo Substitute, does not have what he needs to start attacking with this Groudon. And remember, the Groudon is right there. It's ready. It wants to start attacking. Maybe he'll take the small gamble and activate the Groudon with 3 energy here. It's time for the big boy to come play. It's time for his deck to help him out here. Does he draw the fighting energy? He does not. But he draws a switch, which lets the Wobbuffet become active. Does not want this Primal Groudon to take unnecessary damage. A Versus Seeker finally. We'll probably find another Karina. Please find something important. Find something big here.
Right. And you also see on Rowan's turn, in addition to doing that Hammerhead attached another turn, getting that Land's Judgment ready to go, needs 1 more energy to do that big attack.
That's right. Now another Robo Substitute gets found by the Karina. No fighting Pokemon either. So that's it for this deck, man. He's got to start drawing these Junipers. He's got to start drawing these ends. Something to get himself back into this game. Drawing Versus Seekers and Karinas is just not cutting it.
Yeah, he's just had a really bad situation with his supporters here this game, and hasn't been able to get going.
That's right. Rowan here seems to be so close to victory. Start smelling it. Rowan just wants to keep hammerheading here. He also has 2 energies onto the Landorus, so he could potentially Land's Judgment to knock out a Groudon out of nowhere here.
Right. Puts an energy on his bench to Lucha, so he can start doing flying presses if that comes up. It's going to just do a hammerhead, put 3 on the Wobbuffet, and put 30 on that bench Groudon. Alejandro's card he draws, oh wow, has to pass here, doesn't have anything again.
Alejandro's deck is not helping him out.
Super scoop
up on the other hand does hit a heads, so Rowan does get to scoop up this Crobat line, plays down a Zubat, plays down a Golbat to deal 20 more damage to this benched Primal Groudon, and that's 30 more damage from Hammerhead. This Groudon, which hasn't even been able to get an energy attached to it, is suddenly a few mere hit points away from being knocked out.
Yeah, it's up to 230 damage on it, so it's only got 10 more before it goes down. And Alejandro again.
Crobat does put 30 damage onto this larger Groudon. I like that play. You do not need to deal that 30 damage here to that other Groudon. You know you're going to be able to knock it out with Hammerhead anyway.
Right, and Alejandro just like having his deck completely stall out on him. Rowan discarding that Lysander, knowing that he can't bring up any Groudons with the with it anyway because of Omega Barrier. Seeing another Golbat drop down, more damage onto that benched powered up Primal Groudon.
Golbat does put 20 more damage onto the Primal Groudon. Remember, you do not win the game by knocking out this benched Groudon with no energy on it. You still have to go through the Big Daddy itself. That Groudon that's been waiting patiently in the wings finally has 4 energy attached to it, has that hard charm. It will have to go the distance for Alejandro here. Can Alejandro pull it off? We'll see.
Yeah, there's a hammerhead from Rowan, gets 2 prize cards, taking down that bench Primal Groudon.
That's right. And now he draws a Starling Mega, or I believe he drew a Mega Turbo, but he has a Starling Megaphone to get rid of all of the Pokemon tools attached to Rowan's Pokemon. And now the Wobbuffet is unfortunately sitting in the active position, not able to do much, but that Groudon's ready. That Groudon is ready to come roar, and with a few timely Lysanders, you have to believe that the game is still in hand for Alejandro.
Yeah, he's got some chance. The only EX Pokemon that Rowan has on his side is that Landorus, so that is a lot.
Scoop Up Cyclone does bring that EX Pokemon back to his hand. He chooses to do that instead of bringing back a Crobat. He does not want to give up these 2 prizes very easily, and now Hawlucha becomes active.
Right. Now
Hawlucha can now knock out the Wobbuffet, but it at least doesn't give up 2 prizes here.
Right, Rowan going for his own stall of a sort, trying to make sure that, playing
AZ brings back that Crobat line. Zubat comes down, Crobat comes down, 30 more damage onto the Primal Groudon, and now it's going to start attacking to knock out this Wobbuffet, I'm sure, or actually it's probably going to start attacking the bench Pokemon.
Right, going up with the Skill Dive off of that Crobat, able to do 30 damage anywhere, but he's taking out that Robo Substitute, saying you don't get any extra turns to delay. Here comes
a huge switch from the top from Alejandro, brings that Groudon into the active position. He's going to be able to knock out these Pokemon from this turn on. Alejandro's Groudon is finally ready to start attacking here, knocks out the Crobat. Remember, that Crobat line was also really important to be able to scoop up later on. So now 1 prize taken by Alejandro, 5 to go. Can he do that before that Groudon goes down?
Oh boy, putting a lot all in there.
20 damage onto the Groudon. Flying Press dealing 80 more.
Looks like they're calculating the damage right now.
Oh, the Fighting Stadium is actually going to be able to be enough to knock out the Groudon, I believe.
Yeah,
that is it. Alejandro shakes the hand of Rowan. Rowan is your 2015 Pokemon Trading Card Game Junior Division Champion.
That's just incredible. Like, Alejandro just had a really bad run there in that second game, getting no supporters throughout that entire match except for 1 Karina and a bunch of Versus Seekers.
Give it up for Rowan Stephenow, your 2015 Pokemon Trading Card Game Junior Division Champion.
Yeah, incredible play by Rowan. We just saw this exact same matchup happen in the round before, and we saw the Alejandro just really set it up and really take down that match strongly. For Rowan to turn that around and flip the script, take that back, just shows a really, really great play by Rowan. Both of these players did incredible, though. Alejandro was in tough situations in both those games, and both times made the plays that could give him the win if the cards would come out right, instead of just like giving up.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Alejandro gave himself every opportunity that he could. His deck did not help him out in the end, but Rowan here does play incredibly well, plays exactly the way he needs to in order to ensure victory against this incredibly difficult Groudon deck to defeat. And now Rowan pulls off the victory. And if this is how we start the day, if this is how we start Sunday, I can't believe it, man. I'm going to be waiting patiently. I'm going to be sitting right in the front row. I'm sure I can't wait to see what the rest of this day unfolds.
Yeah, we've got the seniors coming up soon, but yeah, it's going to be really exciting. Rowan's going to be coming up here. You're going to be able to talk to him.
Oh, yeah.
Find out how he's feeling. I'm going to guess excited.
That's a pretty safe bet. So stay tuned, guys. We have the winners interview coming up in just a few moments. And then from that point on, remember, we're jumping right into the senior division finals.
Yeah, congratulations to Rowan.
Just the way the competition is, everyone here is so nice and so friendly.
It's so much fun, and I love trying to predict your opponent's move.
I would have to say the strategy.
The battles and meeting all the new people.
I like opening the packs.
When I was in like first grade, my friend got me a starter deck for my birthday, and then I loved it.
One of my brother's friends handed him a code pack one day, and then we started playing codes, and our dad looked up the video game, and then we started playing that.
I remember playing Pokemon Pinball, actually, right before I got Pokemon Silver.
Going into a league challenge and winning it with Rayquaza Emboar.
Playing Kling Clang from the Plasma Storm set, just shutting off all EXs from attacking.
I go to a bunch of different places, like I've been to different countries because of Pokemon.
It makes life a bit more busy, but it's fun.
It's taught me how I should always value everything and have fun no matter what.
All right, guys, I am incredibly excited to present you with Rowan Stavenow, your 2015 Pokemon Trading Card Game Junior Division Champion. Congratulations, Rowan.
Thanks.
All right, Rowan, I want to keep this short and sweet because I know you want to go celebrate, but how did you feel about your matchup in the finals, and were you surprised by your victory?
I was not, because Primal Groudon is a fairly easy matchup, because you can snipe the Groudons before they come up and then try to one-hit them with the Hawlucha, and then they have to set up an entirely new Primal Groudon.
Yeah, you pulled that strategy off perfectly, and you actually executed it to perfection because you ended up obviously winning those games,
yeah.
But you did it exactly the way you described. What are you going to do now that you're actually the world champion?
Play more Pokemon.
The perfect answer. I love it. Do you expect to come back next year roaring and come ready to go?
Yeah, definitely.
Are you still going to be in the junior division?
No, seniors.
Oh boy, seniors better watch out because Rowan is on his way to dethrone you guys. And final question, do you have anybody that you want to thank here?
I'd like to thank my parents for giving me all of the support and of driving me to Boston to compete in the World Champions. I would also like to thank my brother for saying Landy Bat sucks so that I play it. And that's all.
Great, thank yous. All right, Rowan, I'm going to let you go celebrate now. Congratulations again. You are the champion. You earned it.
Thank you.
All right, guys, stay tuned. Senior Division Championships is going to be decided next. We'll see you soon.
I'm from Green Bay, Wisconsin.
I'm from Norway.
We're from Italy.
The UK, England,
Boston, Massachusetts.
I am from Toronto, Canada.
I played Pokemon competitively for the last year.
4 years.
I've played for 7 years.
3 to 4 years.
15 years.
9, 10 years.
I play mostly every day. Once a week.
Just started right here.
I play a lot, especially online.
3-4 hours a day.
Every day.
Very, very, very often.
My favorite is Kecleon. That and Mawile.
Definitely Machamp.
Mudkip and Pikachu. Mega Rayquaza.
Kangaskhan. And Snorlax.
Geodude, the Steel Bug.
Everyone that I've met through Pokemon shares a similar interest as me, so immediately we've been able to connect and I've been able to make amazing friends.
I love the community and how everyone's really nice with each other.
I love math, so it's a fun way to get your brain working and have fun with some of your friends.
My earliest memory of Pokemon was saving up to buy AA batteries to run the Game Boy?
Probably back when Red and Blue were first released. I was in 5th grade and I got them and played them on the bus to and from school every day the entire year.
I don't really have anything else that's sort of a competitive outlet for me, and it really helps me to better myself.
I've met some of my best friends, my roommates in college. I travel the country with these people, and I don't know, they're just the best people I've met.
Greetings, Pokemon fans. It's Josh J. Wittenkeller. I'm here, as always, with Kyle Pukasukovich, and we are getting ready for some Pokemon TCG Seniors Finals action.
We just saw an incredible finals match in the juniors division. Congrats to Rowan on that big victory, but we are jumping into the seniors finals now between Patrick Martinez and Jeffrey Cheng.
Both these players are setting up right now. They're almost ready to get going, so we're going to throw it to a quick video for some of you guys who might be new to the Pokemon trading card game to get you up to speed before this match.
Hello, Pokemon fans. The Pokemon trading card game has been around for over 15 years, but it's easier than ever to learn how to play. This beginner's guide will give you a quick crash course on how the game is played. Pokemon TCG is a strategic Pokemon battle experienced via collectible cards. Two players send their Pokemon cards out onto the field, power them up using energy cards, and support their team using trainer cards. Pokemon are represented by cards in this game. Each player can have up to 6 Pokemon in play at a time. Only the active Pokemon can attack, and the others waited out on the bench. Pokemon cards that are labeled as basic Pokemon can be put onto the field immediately. Evolution cards can be played on top of basic Pokemon to give them access to stronger attacks. Attacks are fueled by energy cards. In order to use an attack, a Pokemon must have the required amount and type of energy attached to it. Players can attach only 1 energy card per turn. The energy costs for attacks range from minimal to colossal. Usually the powerful attacks require a lot of energy. Trainer cards can assist in many ways, such as drawing cards, finding a specific Pokemon, or even manipulating energy cards. Each player must use a 60-card deck in the Pokemon TCG. For players competing in the World Championships, typically over half of those cards are trainer cards. They're crucial for executing your strategy and getting the edge over the opposing player. Just like the Pokemon video games, both players take turns having their Pokemon launch attacks at each other. Every Pokemon has a certain amount of hit points, which represents how much damage you can take